Hey everybody, this is Jason Ricci here, and welcome back to another Free Friday. I got in my hands a Hohner Marine Band C harmonica customized by Tom Halchek out of Blue Moon, and today we're going to be expanding on playing all by yourself. So what do you do when you don't have a band, when you don't have a jam track, and you just want to lay down a little jam on the top of Mount Everest or the front of your porch, and you want your friends to dig it? I'll tell you what you do. The number one thing you got to do is you got to have a groove. So a lot of people ask me, hey Jason, what are all those little percussive noises that you make, right, in between your playing? And on and on and on. What is that stuff that I'm doing, right? How did I learn that? First, I didn't learn it, I developed it. So let me explain how you can start developing it right away. So first and foremost, it is about a groove. Please visit some of my other lessons on playing with just a few notes, right? Like triangulating lessons, more about triangulations, these kind of lessons. They have a lot to do with it, but we're going to add a little bit today with this rhythm thing. And, you know, this is something that I've addressed privately for my Patreon patrons. But here, we're going to talk about it on YouTube today. So what's going on? Really, it's a lot of counting. People don't want to count. It doesn't sound like you know what you're doing if you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that constant counting, right? It doesn't sound very musical. It sounds academic. It sounds boring. And that's how I thought too, until I started teaching and working with students, and I myself was having to count to show them where to place the beats. Now, prior to that, I was still internally counting, but I wasn't externally counting. Once I started externally counting every day in my classes and when I was teaching, I just unconsciously developed this sort of silent count that sort of morphed, instead of into a vocal 1, 2, 3, 4, into a bop. So what you're hearing there is like, it's really every beat. A 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a boom. You know, a lot of the counting that I'm doing, it's not just to keep time, but it also is preventing me from exhaling into the harmonica and getting another note just because I want to breathe, right? Because if you're inhaling all the time, and a lot of second position and third position is inhaling, if you're inhaling a lot of the time, you need to get rid of that air. So the temptation is to that constant in and out, in and out, in and out. And the thing is that there's nothing wrong with blowing, and a lot of the blow notes work great. But what I'm doing when I'm counting, or when I'm just making these percussive noises, is I'm just doing something to prevent myself from just playing another hole because it's there and I need air. Check out my lesson on chugging on the inhale only. Just really quick, it's something like... So a lot of that country and fox chase and foxtrot and all that D. Ford Bailey stuff that I do, right? A lot of that stuff has really influenced all of my playing, whether I'm playing funk or jazz, blues, whatever it is. That whole process of disciplining myself to get rid of my air in between notes instead of using notes to get rid of my air. So instead I'm so even if I'm not playing a fox chase, I'm still using that same technique. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll kind of use it like a snare drum. Boom, ka-chak, ka-chak, ka-chak. So I might play some draw notes in there, but like chordal draw notes. If you listen to some of the early Little Walter stuff, particularly some of the stuff behind Muddy Waters and Jimmy Rogers, even his own band, you'll hear a constant counting. You listen to Kim Wilson, it's the same thing. Check out the song 40 Days and 40 Nights with Little Walter on harmonica. You might not hear it at first because it blends in so perfect with the snare drum. Right, and these little slaps, and what it is it's really internalizing that groove. And that is such an important, imperative part of playing by yourself. So on the last lesson, in part 1 of Playing Alone, we talked about, using the root notes of a 12 bar. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then changing to the 4 blow, highlighting the 4 chord, back to the root. Here comes 5 on 4 draw and on 4 blow, and so that's an actual chord change, and that's a regular 12-bar blues, and that's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of songs that go like that have that shared progression. But you don't even need one chord change. All you really need is a groove. You can get this internal groove. Let's just take an exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No changes, right? So I'll just play the root note and just sort of keep time. Now, at first, I'll keep time by counting, formally counting. And if my wife's around in the room or the neighbors are looking at me on the porch, they're gonna be like, wow, he must be a real, beginner. I don't care what they think, right? I'm developing an internal clock, y'all. And I'm gonna be able to turn that clock off and get super cool and put it up on YouTube, and people are gonna ask questions like, how'd you do that? Here's how we do it, right? 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Add a note, 2 draw, double bend. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. Add another note. Four, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. That's every beat. Shaka taka 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 taka. 6/8. That is the key, right? If you can develop that, you are going to be very happy playing harmonica. You're going to be able to keep yourself entertained because it is all about the groove. It is all about the groove. There's mistakes that you can make melodically. We call them hitting a clam. You know, so like if you play the wrong note, right? We call that hitting a clam. Now, if you play it during the head, like of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, it's a little worse, right? People are going to look at you and go, oh, come on, man. You know, you need to practice more, right? But it's not the end of the world. If you hit the wrong note in a solo, you're only a half step away from the right note. No matter what note you hit, no matter how bad it is, right? Do like 3-draw triple bend, right? Right, that's an awful note, right? Especially if I'm just playing a blues song. Ready? I'll make it work. There is nothing you can't do in a solo to fix a wrong note. You just move up a half step or move down a half step, and you're somewhere that relates to something that's on that chord. Almost always, right? Hitting a clam. So what happens when you hit a clam? It's kind of smelly. It's kind of gross, right? But what happens when you mess up rhythmically? When you lose the 1, 2, 3, 4, right? When you forget where 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and you kind of redefine that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1. Now that happens to everybody. If you're playing with a really good drummer or a really bad drummer, either one, sometimes that drummer is going to get so out there that you're depending on that drummer to know where 1 is, right? Your internal clock is pretty good, but then you start hearing him. Anyway, we call that losing the 1, and it's one of the scariest things that can happen. And unlike hitting a clam, it has a way worse nickname. It's called a train wreck. And when a train wreck happens, that's when the band all together loses the 1, or the drummer loses the 1, and the band doesn't adjust to where the drummer's new 1 is. And most of the time, they stop. They stop in the middle of a song. And everybody knows there's a problem.
Everybody does.
What you want to do, right, more importantly than melody, more important than anything, is develop this internal clock. And sure, a metronome is great. Sure, jam tracks are great. But if you can get it on your own, just a little groove. 2, 3, 4. Constant groove. Shaka dooka taka da shaka dooka taka da 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 chika da da yata da 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 down. Chat 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 chika down. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get into the nuance of being able to express which beat you would like to hit. What I mean is like notes that you're tempted to accentuate, but that you don't want to actually play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check it out. So I'll accentuate 2, beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's where it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2 on 1. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the beat on 2 now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now, so one of the things that's going to help me do that, notice I'm keeping this groove going, is if I keep a little chug going, a little time counting, like 3, 4. And then I can pick and choose which beat I want because I'm counting each one and I'm feeling each one and I'm just involved in the moment. I'm going to wrap up with a little story.
Welcome to Blues Stories, a collection of yarns spun by Jason Ricci. In these videos, he will be documenting the true and tall tales of his life and career as a superstar blues harmonica demon and god. You will hear first-hand accounts of his rise and fall and strange, seamy encounters with legends and obscure artists alike. Some of the names have been changed to protect the living. There are no innocents in the blues.
So I used to play with Junior Kimbrough, and I was living with David Kimbrough, and I was playing a lot with David, but Junior would always get me up to play with him, you know, every Sunday from 95 to a little bit into 96. One time, okay, well, Junior never gave me a solo when I was playing with him. There was a song that he did called Nobody But You, and it went... I was smart enough to not step on his toes as a vocalist, but anywhere there was a hole, anywhere there was a space, I would fill it up. So I'd play. Right, but the song just went... That's how it went, right? But I didn't want to do that because I was young and I thought I had a lot to say. So I never got a solo. But I didn't know that was why. I just thought maybe, you know, Junior didn't know, like, what the guys in Chicago did and what Little Walter did and, like, you know, that, like, you know, that's what I thought, right? Right. So check it out. So one night he books this gig, right? And it's at this, like, abandoned hotel. And they got, like, extension cords from another building running in for power. And they bring some coolers of beer and they're reselling it. And it was a very, like, even the juke joint gigs that we did were pretty informal. They were, you know, shacks out in the middle of nowhere. But this one was, like, really informal. Okay, so I didn't think that I needed to be sober for the gig, right? So I drank 2 half pints of whiskey instead of 1 or instead of a half, which is what I was normally drinking on Sunday. So it occurred to me that I was basically too drunk to play. But the band got up and they started playing, and then they asked me to come play. So I'm up in this abandoned hotel, and you know the floorboards are falling apart and stuff, and we're up there and we're playing, and I'm too drunk to be on stage. And Junior calls that same song. It's called Nobody But You. It's in A. We'll play it in G. It's an A-ish if you play with Junior. I was too drunk to put those fills in, so I was just started going like this. Now, you notice that slap I'm putting in there? Slap! Shap! Now, I never really heard that part of the song. All I heard was the melody. I was missing that. Right, and then I started noticing that the drummer was pulling it back a little bit. Slap! Just a little bit back, right? And so I started hitting it with him a little back because I was too drunk to put in any of this. I couldn't do that, right? But I could hear that groove. So I start slamming that downbeat. Slap! Slap! And the band starts looking at me, right? Like these guys, you know, David, Audimus Lesor on bass, or it might have been Gary Burnside. I think it was Audimus. Kenny Kimbrough on the drum, Junior's son, and David, and they're looking at me like, yeah, man, like, yeah, like, that's what we do here, you know, like welcome to the club kind of thing. And I start getting hypnotized by this groove. Shap, boom, shap. I'm just feeling it. Like it was like the best drug I had ever done. It was like being part of this larger collective organism that was just right? And it felt good. And then Junior turned to me. And they didn't call me Jason. They didn't call me Mooncat. He goes, hey, yo, White, take a solo. And for the first time, he gave me a solo, right? Why? Because for the first time, I was part of the groove. And what was the most important thing about music, right? Especially about Junior's music. That Cotton Patch Soul Blues Boy stuff, right? It's that groove, that repetitive groove. Everything else is secondary. So yeah, these chord changes, major thirds, sixth chords, seventh chords, arpeggiating ninth chords, raised, sharp, four diminished, all this theory stuff. It's super important. It's fun. It's really good to communicate with other musicians. But in the end, it's all about that groove. A two, a three, a four. That's what those noises are. It's me counting. It's me making noises instead of blowing in to the harp or drawing in on another note that I don't want to do it on. All right, it's me keeping time and staying in the groove. Well, that was lesson number 2 on Playing Alone. I love y'all so much. Thank you very much. Patreon, you guys are saving my butt. I appreciate you so much. I promise I'm gonna get you your own private video this week. I got some time off from my birthday week. I'm gonna get you guys a video during my birthday. Love y'all. Stay tuned for the credits. Thank you everybody for tuning in to Free Fridays right here on YouTube. Subscribe today. Click the subscribe button for hundreds of free harmonica lessons. If you like what I'm putting down and you'd like to support the cause, go the extra mile. Be sure to visit my Patreon page. Patreon patrons, thank you very much. You're making these lessons an absolute priority in my life, no matter how busy I get. A free lesson happens every Friday. For as low as $1 a month, that's 25 cents a lesson, you can become a Patreon patron. If you're doing a little better and you can donate more, that's great. Every time you become a Patreon patron, you're helping somebody else out there that doesn't have a credit card, that doesn't have $1 a month, to continue to get free harmonica instruction and much, much more. Remember, we got product reviews here on this channel. We do videos on addiction and bipolar disorder. We got blues stories. We got performance videos and everything right here on Jason Ricci's YouTube. Subscribe today. I'd like to thank Hohner Harmonicas, and I'd like to thank Blue Moon Harmonicas, making custom parts for any harmonica that you might have at home. Blue Moon has got you. The Lone Wolf Blues Company, pedals, amplifiers, microphones, you name it, much more. Right here out of Louisiana, the Lone Wolf Blues Company is bringing you the best in customer service for almost any kind of amplified blues harmonica needs that you may have. Speaking of amplifiers, Harp Gear amplifiers, check them out. The very best Harp Gear, right out of Ocala, Florida. I got a website, www.mooncat.org. Check me out on mooncat.org. I got tour dates happening all over the place. I'm going all over the country this year, playing tour dates with J.J. Appleton, with Damon Fowler, with J.P. Soares, with my own band, with Joe Crown, all kinds of people. www.mooncat.org. T-shirts, lesson information, all of that. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We do this every single Friday, and then every now and then I throw you some more stuff right here at Jason Ricci's YouTube. A Mooncat, love and appreciate all y'all. Thank you.